Hello everyone, my name is Vito Faraci and I live on Long Island, New York. I am a retired electrical engineer, have served as an adjunct math professor at a local college, and have given lectures to the FAA and airplane manufacturers on the subject of failure analysis of electrical and mechanical equipment. I am also a lecturer at a local Knights of Columbus Council. Okay, that was my introduction. Now I want to explain why I produced this video entitled Not Enough Hatred for Evil. You will recall back in 2014, a militant group by the name of ISIS went around killing hundreds of people in the Middle East. There were reports of innocent men, women, and children getting their heads chopped off. During their reign of terror, the total number of people murdered was in the thousands. When I first heard this news, I almost jumped out of my skin. Make no mistake, these were horrific acts of evil. Quite naturally and innocently, with no intentions of taking a survey, I went around to friends, relatives, and colleagues asking the questions. Oh, have you heard what's going on in the Middle East? As a result of what turned out to be a survey, I made a discovery that was somewhat surprising to me. Some people reacted in the same way as I did. They became enraged and angry. Some other people gave responses like, oh, this kind of behavior has been going on for years. And, oh, you have to understand what's going on in the heads of these ISIS people. What else is there to understand? Innocent people were getting their heads chopped off. Does anyone need any more information than that? I really thought everyone would react as I did and become totally outraged. As a result of this experience, a very simple and profound fact was confirmed for me. The hatred of evil is a variable. The amount of hatred for a particular evil will vary from person to person. Some people will hate it with a passion. Some will hate it just a little bit, and some may not hate it at all. I was somewhat aware of this, but this unintentional survey of mine really hammered the fact home for me. By the way, it is interesting to note that on the flip side, the amount of love for a particular goodness will also vary from person to person. I compared this evil of ISIS with the evil of Nazi Germany. With the Nazi evil, not just thousands, but millions of innocent men, women, and children were murdered. When I first learned of the Holocaust as a young boy, the first question that popped into my head was the same as many others would ask. How could that horrific evil ever happen? And now, after learning about the horrors of ISIS, this question crops up again. That question still haunts me till this day. My search for answers to this question led me to the Bible and thoughts of some deep thinkers, which I have been sharing with the Knights of Columbus. What motivated me to produce this video was not so much the fact that the evil of ISIS took place, but what had appeared to me was a lack of recognition, or possibly an indifference to those horrific acts of evil on the part of some people. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It confirmed for me, similar to corruption, that for whatever reason, there was not enough hatred for evil going on. Like most other people, I do not like talking about evil, but I feel I must because it is all around us and it must be correctly recognized, identified, and properly addressed. What really got my attention was my observations of the reactions or lack of reaction from various people when confronted with the subject of evil. So without further ado, I am presenting here the results of my search. Hatred of evil is tied to wisdom. I heard a wise man once say that the more we love what God loves, and the more we hate what God hates, the more godlike we become. Take note that the Old Testament is full of passages that talk about wisdom and what God hates. In particular, take note, Proverbs 8:13, the fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Now compare this with Psalms 111:10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Note that when connecting these two Bible verses together, something very profound materializes. Notice that the fear of the Lord is tied to both hatred of evil and beginning of wisdom. Here are some more examples of what God hates. These 6 things does the Lord hate. Yes, 7 are an abomination unto him. 1, a proud look. 2, a lying tongue. 3, hands that shed innocent blood. 4, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations. 5, feet that be swift in running into mischief. 6, a false witness that speaketh lies. And 7, he that soweth discord among his brethren. Nowadays, if you pick up a daily non-biased newspaper, if you can find one, you will probably read about most, if not all, 7. Since the end of World War II, I have observed a decline in people's hatred for evil. For example, I hear people talk and say things like, "Did you hear politician XYZ lying on TV last night?" And a common response would be, "Oh, no big deal. All politicians lie." It has now become an acceptable behavior for politicians to lie. People give them a pass. To say it another way, some people have become desensitized to lying and other bad behaviors. In other words, some people are becoming more desensitized to sin. They have forgotten, or maybe have not been told, that one of the things that the Lord hates is a lying tongue. And then, of course, there is another possibility that some people only believe what they want to believe. Nowadays, you will hear some people, mostly liberals, saying that it is wrong or not politically correct to hate. I suspect that this is a denial mechanism, a way of justifying for themselves from not hating the evil that surrounds them or some of the things that they do. It is interesting to note that this behavior is related to the path of least resistance or to the path of most comfort. I really believe that all this political correctness nonsense was manufactured in hell. Hatred can become a virtue. There is no sin in hatred as long as we hate what God hates. In fact, when we hate what God hates, hatred becomes a virtue. There is something wrong with a person who does not hate being lied to by the president of his country, or does not hate being forced to pay for other people's abortions, or does not hate a government that encourages laziness, or does not hate the act of innocent men, women, and children getting their heads chopped off. What would Jesus have to say about these behaviors? I have noticed that since the end of World War II, within the Catholic Church, and in other churches as well, there is plenty of talk on the subjects of goodness and love. Certainly, these are very good things that people need to hear about. However, there has been a decline of talks, homilies, and teachings about sin, evil, and the devil. In fact, there is very little or no talk of these subjects today. For the most part, churches, schools, and government are silent on these issues. This observation raises some very basic and profound questions. Here are 3 profound questions that crop up. Number 1. If a person does not fully understand sin and evil, then can he be expected to fully understand goodness and love? 2. Should people be held responsible for not believing in sin, evil, or the devil when their pastors, parents, and teachers are silent on these subjects? And 3. What is the root cause of these subjects not being talked about in our churches and schools? Here are some excerpts from a retreat that Bishop Sheen gave in Gary, Indiana, back in 1973, which seems to confirm my observations and offer some insight and explanations as to what is going on. Number 1. We are living in the first age in history that has denied the reality of sin. 2. It used to be that only us Catholics believe in the Immaculate Conception of Mary. Nowadays, everyone believes that he is immaculately conceived. Number 3. Sin is not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world is the denial of sin. Compare this statement with, to see evil and not call it evil is evil. Number 4, we are either domesticating the devil or denying his existence. 5, the devil is most powerful when he has people believing he does not exist. 6, God's definition of himself is, I am who am. The devil's definition of himself is, I am who am not. Number 7, the devil is running things down here and he's doing a damn good job. And number 8, we do not have to wear hair shirts these days. Our neighbors are hair shirts. What is very interesting to note here is that Bishop Sheen said these things back in 1973. When one considers, among other things, the increase of murder, abortion, violence, terrorism, tearing apart of families, drug abuse, disrespect for police and rightful authority in the past few years, we find that 1973 was relatively calm compared to what is going on today. Here are some closing thoughts. Today, I hear a lot of people complaining about other people starving for food and shelter, which is a very noble thing. but I do not hear any complaints about others starving for truth. Like good food, people require truth to maintain a healthy and fruitful life. Many people are starving for truth and do not know it. Evil can come to us in many different disguises, while at the same time hiding the truth. We need to go back and teach some very simple basics like the nursery rhyme, Little Red Riding Hood, to be reminded that evil does come in various disguises, and learn what we can do and should do about it. Conclusion. If one applies Bishop Sheen's Excerpt 3 to the evil of ISIS or the evil of the Nazis, here is what you will get. Having a multitude of innocent people murdered is not the worst thing in the world. It is the denial of the act of having innocent people murdered. That is the worst thing in the world. In other words, it is the denial of the act of evil that is the worst thing in the world. If nothing else, I hope this video is influential in making people ponder those very profound words. As Bishop Sheen would say, God love you. Here is my contact information. Email any questions you may have or comments to vfaraci@math-philosophy.xyz. I'd love to hear from you.